Today we're going to look at a trip from Waterloo to Goderich. Initially, what we want to figure out for this trip is going to be our heading and our distance and our time. So heading, which direction are we going to fly? Distance, how far is the destination? And time, how long is it going to take us to get there? When marking out your mile markers, you want to start from your destination and work your way backwards. In this case, we're going to do every 5 nautical miles, but the biggest one is to make sure you have every 10 nautical miles identified. And this will come into play later when you have to do a revised ETA for your flight test. To begin your trip, what you want to do is begin by having an intermediate point in which you set off towards your destination, such as Goderich for today. What we're going to do is we're going to draw a line to the south via the helicopter route, and we're going to have that extend out just to the edge of the zone, so 5 nautical miles to the south. We're going to divert to the west once we get out of the zone and head towards Goderich. This way you'll make sure that you're at altitude at that point, so let's say 2,500 feet, and when you turn on to your course heading, you can start your timer to see how long it'll take you to do 10 miles, and then do a revised ETA to your destination. This will be important for your flight test. You can see here that what we did was make 5 nautical mile markers, starting from Goderich and working our way backwards towards Waterloo. With the measuring that we did, it's about 55 nautical miles to the edge of the southern part of the zone of Waterloo. So we know we have 55 nautical miles to go as we get out to the south, heading towards Goderich. So we've taken a look at the distance calculation. Now we want to take a look at the heading calculation. So we know we have to go about due south to get to the edge of the zone for Waterloo, and once we get there we're going to divert westbound. So for today it'll be, for argument's sake, let's say 305 degrees magnetic to get to Goderich, and we'll assume there's 0 wind today, so we won't have to do any wind correction calculations. The final calculation we'll want to do is our time calculation. So we know we have 55 nautical miles to go to get to Goderich with no wind today. So we should be traveling at 100 nautical miles. 55 nautical miles gives you just over 30 minutes to get to Goderich. And we just want to keep in mind that this 33 minutes is only once we are at altitude outside of the zone to the south, heading directly towards Goderich. So we are not calculating our departure towards the south to exit the zone. Another thing to keep in mind is that there are compass roses around most of the major airports, like we can see here for London, and these are in degrees magnetic. So they've already done the calculation for us in regards to the magnetic variation in the region. We don't see this compass rose around Waterloo because of the fact that they overlaid the VTA inside of the VNC there, so the VTA does not give you that compass rose. So we head down to London just to see what the compass rose is telling us, and this will come into play when we want to do our diversion. We can use that compass rose to give us a quick heading indication as to where we want to go. For your flight test and any other navigational trips, it actually will benefit you if you highlight your compass roses that are along your flight path for that day. It is taking a highlighter, circling around the compass rose, and then demarcating the cardinal points on that compass rose. So due north, due south, east, and west. And then if you want even 20 or 30 degrees between those cardinal points, just to make it easier for you to see which direction you're traveling. And if you need a diversion, you're not going to be struggling to see those very small points on the compass rose. Another good rule of thumb is every 10 nautical miles along your path towards your destination, you want to pick about 2 to 3 points of reference on your map that you can use to verify that you are on the right track and going to be getting to your location efficiently. What do I mean by that? I'm talking about possibly towns, water towers, talking about railway tracks, things that you can do a ground to map visual reference so that you know that you are either a little bit off your course or exactly on your course. So, again, we're looking for about 3, maybe even 4 places to mark out along your path every 10 nautical miles. So, at this point, once you have your 5 or 10 nautical mile markers along your route, working backwards from Goderich to the south of the zone of Waterloo, you want to actually circle, maybe with a highlighter or a circle with a pen, where those ground to map identifiers will be along your route every 10 miles. So, now relating to your flight test, you'll want to be on track to get to Goderich at altitude, so let's say 2,500 feet, by the time you turn westbound when you're at the south of the zone of Waterloo. At this point, you want to start your timer, and you're going to time how long it'll take you to go 10 nautical miles. And from there, you'll give a revised ETA to the instructor. In this scenario, I always like to use the 10% rule. And this allows you to be able to do the math in your head while you're flying with relative ease. The 10% rule essentially states that you take whatever airspeed you're traveling at, so let's say 100 knots to make it easy for ourselves. We find 10% of that, that's 10 nautical miles or 10 knots. And then we find 10% of an hour or 60 minutes, so that'll end up being 6 minutes. And that'll give us a good understanding as to how far and how long it'll take us to go that distance. So if you're going 100 nautical miles per hour in 6 minutes or 10% of an hour, you should be going 10 nautical miles. And once we work that calculation out and we double check it with our timing of that 10 nautical mile time check, we can then verify with how much distance we have left to go, how long it'll take us to get to our destination. So we are now at the 45 nautical mile marker. We've just done our 10 nautical mile time check, and for argument's sake, it took us 6 minutes to travel 10 nautical miles. We have 45 nautical miles left. So, easiest way to do it is 4 times 6, or 40 nautical miles, times 6 minutes per 10 nautical mile, and that'll be 24 minutes plus an extra 5, so add 3 more minutes on top of that, so 27 minutes to go 45 nautical miles to get to our destination. So let's say the time currently is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Our ETA should be 1:27.